welcome. You're tuned into Tangled Threads. If you're digging our content, hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you. From the moment I met Ethan, I knew he was the one. He had this calm, reassuring presence that immediately made me feel safe and loved. Our life together was everything I could have hoped for. Cozy dinners at home, weekend getaways to little bed and breakfasts, and evenings spent curled up on the couch, losing ourselves in our favorite shows. But somewhere along the line, the excitement began to wane, and the days started to blend into one another. It was like we were stuck in a loop of monotony, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing out on something vital. In an effort to break the cycle, I joined a local yoga class. It was my attempt at self-improvement, a way to bring some new energy into my life and, by extension, our marriage. Yoga, with its promises of inner peace and physical wellness, seemed like the perfect solution. That's where I met Alex. He was everything Ethan wasn't: adventurous, spontaneous, and with an intensity that was both thrilling and terrifying. Alex attended the same yoga class, and our initial exchanges were innocent enough, limited to small talk before and after sessions. But as the weeks went by, our conversations deepened, and I found myself drawn to him in a way that I hadn't expected. One evening, after a particularly intense class, Alex suggested we grab a smoothie at the nearby cafe. It was just a smoothie, I told myself. But deep down, I knew I was treading dangerous waters. That smoothie led to dinner, and dinner led to us ending up at his place. The guilt was immediate and overwhelming, but in the moment, it was overshadowed by a sense of connection and excitement I hadn't felt in years. The next day was a blur of confusion and shame. I knew I had to come clean to Ethan. The guilt was eating me alive. The confession was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I watched as the man I loved, the man I had shared so many dreams and memories with, crumbled before my eyes. The hurt in his gaze was something I'll never forget. Ethan's reaction was not what I had hoped for. I had read countless stories of couples overcoming infidelity, of love conquering all. I clung to the belief that if our love was strong enough, we could get through this together. But Ethan didn't see it that way. He couldn't see past the betrayal, and honestly, I couldn't blame him. "I can't be with someone I can't trust," he said, his voice steady but laced with an indescribable pain. "This isn't just about what happened with Alex. It's about the fact that you were even capable of doing it in the first place." I tried to explain, to make him see that it was a mistake, a lapse in judgment. "Ethan, please, we can work through this. Everyone makes mistakes. I made a huge one, and I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you if you just give me the chance." But his mind was made up. "I deserve someone who respects me, Jenna, and you need to figure out what you really want, because it's clear you don't know." The divorce proceedings were swift, almost clinical. Ethan approached it with the same stoicism he applied to every aspect of his life. It was as if the man I had married had been replaced by a stranger, someone who viewed me not as his wife, but as a painful chapter in his life that needed to be closed as quickly as possible. Looking back, I understand why Ethan couldn't forgive me. The breach of trust was too great, and while part of me will always wonder, what if, I've come to accept the consequences of my actions. The divorce forced me to confront some uncomfortable truths about myself and the reasons behind my decision to cheat. It's a journey of self-discovery that's painful yet necessary, and I'm slowly learning to forgive myself, even if Ethan never will. Our last conversation was brief, filled with all the things left unsaid and the realization that some wounds are too deep to heal. "I hope you find what you're looking for, Jenna," were his final words to me. And with that, he walked away, leaving me to pick up the pieces of a life I had shattered with my own hands. In the end, I lost not just my husband, but a part of myself. The journey ahead is uncertain, filled with regrets and what-ifs, but it's a path I must walk alone. The lessons learned are etched deeply in my heart, reminders of a love lost and the price of a moment's folly. Update. Months had passed since the divorce was finalized, and with each day, the weight of my decisions bore heavily on my heart. In a misguided attempt to find closure, or perhaps in a fleeting moment of hope, I found myself at a local bar one evening. It was the kind of place Ethan and I used to frequent during our happier times, filled with the warm glow of nostalgia and memories of laughter. That's where I saw him again, Ethan, sitting alone at the bar, a sight that stirred a whirlwind of emotions within me. My initial instinct was to leave, to spare myself the potential heartache. But something, perhaps the lingering feelings I harbored for him, propelled me forward. As I approached, I noticed the change in him. He seemed more at peace, a stark contrast to the turmoil I felt inside. "Ethan," I began, my voice barely above a whisper, betraying the nervousness I felt. He looked up, and for a brief moment, I saw a flicker of surprise in his eyes, quickly masked by the familiar stoicism. "Jenna," he greeted, his voice neutral, "what are you doing here?" The conversation that followed was awkward, a clumsy dance around the elephant in the room. I found myself rambling, talking about trivial matters in a vain attempt to bridge the chasm between us. Finally, gathering my courage, I broached the subject that had been haunting me. "Ethan, I've had a lot of time to think, to realize the gravity of my mistake. I miss you. I wonder if there's a chance, any chance at all, we could try again?" The silence that followed was deafening. Ethan's expression was unreadable, a mask that gave nothing away. When he finally spoke, his voice was gentle, yet firm. "Jenna, I've moved on. What happened between us? It changed me. I can't go back to the way things were. I don't harbor any ill will towards you, but I think it's best if we just leave the past in the past." His words were a sobering dose of reality, a painful reminder of the consequences of my actions. I had come to the bar clinging to a sliver of hope, only to leave with the certainty that some doors, once closed, cannot be reopened. "I understand," I managed to say, my voice a mere whisper. "I'm sorry for interrupting your evening." As I walked away, the finality of the situation settled in. I realized then that my attempt to reconnect with Ethan was not about us getting back together. It was a desperate bid for forgiveness, a way to alleviate the guilt that had become my constant companion. But forgiveness, I learned, is not something you can seek from others. It's something you have to find within yourself. The encounter at the bar was a painful but necessary lesson. It forced me to confront the reality of my actions and their irreversible impact on both our lives. In seeking Ethan out, I had reopened old wounds for both of us, a selfish act that I deeply regretted. Now, more than ever, I understood the importance of moving forward, of learning from the past without being anchored by it. The journey ahead is fraught with uncertainty, but it's one I must undertake alone, armed with the lessons learned from my mistakes. It's a path towards healing, towards forgiveness, and ultimately, towards finding peace within myself. I think you all know how I feel about this one. Jesus. Anyways, let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell. Click here for more Tangled threads.